So, Axanar is a fan-made movie based on the Star Trek franchise, and I'd really say it's more like an alternative studio movie from the CBS Paramount movie. And there's kind of a funny story of how I got involved with it, and how eventually others in the mystery school got involved in it too. So during the time of COVID, we were particularly here in Toronto going through a lot of lockdowns, and it gave me more time to surf the web and to do a little binge watching of Netflix and all that good stuff. And I was always a Star Trek fan since I was a child, since the original Star Trek series with Captain Kirk and Dr. McCoy and Mr. Spock and Scotty and all those guys. And then later on, the Next Generation with Picard and Riker and Worf and Data and all those guys. And then, of course, all the movies. So I always liked that stuff. So during lockdown, sheerly by accident, I ran across this this movie called Axanar, and it wasn't complete. Parts of it were up on the web on YouTube, so I started watching it, and I was mind blown. In fact, I thought it had to be a studio-made movie because it was so well done. Particularly this one part called Prelude to Axanar was really well done. So I started looking at it, and I'm saying, "Wow, this is incredible. Why has this not been completed?" And I started looking for, the final copy, and I couldn't find it. And eventually I wandered my way around the web, and I found out that this gentleman who was making this and in charge of the whole thing, was his idea and his baby, a fellow named Alec Peters, right there. He was the one that made this. And he got stopped for many reasons. One was COVID, obviously, did a lot of production shutdowns. But the second part was Paramount CBS was not too happy because the movie was so well made and was receiving, or at least the section that was done, was receiving so much positive reviews that I think they felt that they had a little bit of egg on their face. And they didn't like that. In fact, a lot of people were saying, why don't you turn this into a canon movie, a canon property? Why don't you make this a part of the regular Star Trek franchise? And that led to a lot of contractual problems for Alec and some struggles with the studio, which eventually they went to arbitration and they got it settled. And then Axanar could continue its production with certain limitations in place, which, were done in a fair manner from what I could see. But that left Alec in a bit of a bind. He didn't have the budget to complete the movie, and it wasn't finished. And so when I found that out, I reached out through a crowdfunding campaign, and I sent him some money. And didn't hear much back, just got a sort of a standard, hey, thanks very much for your support letter. But after a little while, after a few more months, Alec reached out to me and said, thanks very much for your support. This has allowed us to keep filming a particular episode, and we were able to keep running the production, which was fantastic. And he said, would you be interested in funding a little more? And I said, sure. So we went through a second funding, and I funded that one. And while I was doing all this, I was very quiet about it. I didn't tell anyone, not even mentioning it to my wife, because I was like, I didn't know if it was real, to be honest. I didn't know if this was potentially a scam. I wasn't sure. It looked legit. I trusted my discernment, but at the same time, I was like, let's just see how this works out. Let me just see a little bit. But over time, I came to realize it was quite real. And with enough funding, the movie could be completed and finished. And it was an incredible piece of work that was sitting there, incomplete. So I started talking more with Alec, and we started getting closer, and we did many phone calls and some Zoom calls. And I said, hey, how much more money do you need to get this done? And he gave me some numbers, and I said, I'll fund it. I'll complete the project with you. And I'm very proud to stand behind him because he's an incredibly driven guy. To give you some context, between the struggles with Paramount CBS and COVID, we're sitting at about 9 years of making this movie. And I got into it maybe a little bit more than 2 years ago, something like that. And this gentleman, Alec Peters, has kept keeping this dream alive, this film of his alive for 9 years. And we still have a little ways to go. And we're almost at the finish line, actually. Coming up in a few weeks, in a couple weeks, we're gonna be finishing the final episodes, and then it's got to go into all that stuff, that editing stuff that I know exists, but I'm not super familiar with to get the final product. And then hopefully sometime next year, summertime, we'll actually have the entire film done and completed. So Alec kept driving forward. He's obviously a very driven guy, creative guy, smart guy. And more importantly for me, he has a good heart. He has a big heart. So I was happy to stand with him. So been working with him over the last couple of years and much more intently over the last year. And that's where Goodnison reached out to me, my brother and partner. And even though it's towards the end of the film, he said he'd like to get involved because he saw the product and he realized how good it was. So I went back to Alec and I said, I have a gentleman I know, I've known him for 20 years. He's a very good friend of mine. He'd like to, I know we're towards the end of the project, but he'd like to join in helping fund the final few pieces of the project. Can he join us? We did a 3-way Zoom call and Gunny got involved in it now too. And he's gonna help us pull it over the finish line and complete the movie. I've seen the scripts, I've seen the layouts, I've seen where we go, and I have to say that even if I wasn't involved with Axanar, even if I wasn't an executive producer on it, as a fan, I'm excited about what this is going to be and how big this is going to be. With an understanding in all of this, that as a fan-made production and with the agreements with CBS Paramount, no money can be made from this movie. There can't be any money raised for this movie in terms of making profit. And that's okay. That's because, it's a project out of love. It's a project out of a desire to be a part of this amazing property that Gene Roddenberry started. People have asked me, is this like a dream come true? And my answer is no. I would have to believed I could dream it for it to come true. It wasn't a dream come true. I never in my wildest dreams believed it could be possible. Nothing like this. I've never believed I could ever be a part of a property, especially Star Trek, one of the things that I've enjoyed so much throughout my life. I never believed that was possible. So I'm still sort of processing this and allowing it to become real for me. And there's a part of me that still believes it's a bit unreal. But I'll keep living the dream if that's what it is. If it is a dream, I'm going to keep living it. And I hope you all look forward because there's more videos to come, more stuff to come. And I hope when the movie is done, you'll have a chance to see it and you'll enjoy it as much as I've been enjoying going on this journey with it.